Okay, it is 5 o'clock. The March 6th, 2024 regular board meeting of the Vallecitos Water District will come to order. Before we begin, I'd like to announce that members of the public may watch the meeting live via computer or smart device by going to the district's website and clicking on the Watch Live icon. However, they will not be able to participate in the meeting remotely. Members of the public may also listen to the meeting live on their phone by dialing 888-788-0099 toll-free or 877-853-5247 toll-free. When prompted, enter the meeting ID and passcode displayed on the district's website. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Director Hernandez, will you please lead us?
B2. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next is roll call. Please indicate your attendance. And we have 3 present and 2 absent. Thank you. Do we have any additions to the agenda?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So, having no additions to the agenda, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda for the regular board meeting of March the 6th, 2024?
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, motion by Director Hernandez, seconded by Vice President Pinnock. Please vote. And it passes. Thank you. Okay, next is public comment, and this is for items not on the agenda. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, do we have any public comment for items not on the agenda?
No, ma'am.
Okay, seeing none, thank you. Moving on to our consent agenda. Unless a board member would like to pull an item from the agenda, then may I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, motion by Vice President Pinnock, seconded by Director Hernandez. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, please vote. And the motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to our action items. Action item 2.1, to adopt the resolution modifying the district's record retention policy relating to email retention. Do we have any public speakers for this agenda item?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Will there be a presentation?
Yeah, just brief. So
Okay.
just as a reminder to the board, this item was originally brought up by Director Grosset at a previous board meeting and seconded to bring forward. The request from Director Grosset was to move our existing retention policy for emails from 30 days to 1 year. Now, Matthias Labriere, our Chief Technology Officer, will provide a brief presentation and staff recommendation for this.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President and members of the board. Today I'll be discussing with you an update concerning the district's email retention policy. As you're all well aware, our current practice mandates the deletion and archival of emails after a 30-day period. The policy was initially designed with storage and data risk management in mind. However, it became clear that a 30-day retention span is no longer adequate for district needs. 3 things were considered. Primarily the question, why consider a change? Those 3 things, one of which is legal compliance, secondly, operational efficiency, and lastly, variability of content. I'm going to be speaking about each of those things. First off, legal compliance. According to California Government Code Section 60200 and our own records retention policy, we're obligated to maintain records with lasting value for a specific period. Currently, that doesn't align with our 30-day email retention policy. Operational efficiency, the second, email has really become a critical tool for us. It carries substantive information that often remains relevant well beyond the 30 days. There are a lot of operational insights, historic data that are invaluable for our functions and compliance requirements that often exceed that 30-day window. The final thing we're going to speak of is variability of content. The nature of emails differ greatly. Some are transient or temporary, others have significant historical or operational value and necessitating a more nuanced approach to retention and thus requiring a longer retention period. So given all of that information, it's clear that extending our email policy from 30 days to 1 year will allow us to enhance our operational capabilities, our compliance posture, in addition to responsiveness to public records requests and/or any legal holds that we may have in the future. We've then since drafted a resolution that you should have in your board packet, and we are asking the board to adopt that and modifying the existing policy from 30 days to 365 days or 1 year. And with that being said, I am able to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation and for bringing this item forward. What questions do my colleagues have? Yes.
Do we have a storage concern if we're going to store all these emails?
Great question. No storage concerns. Back in the day, email and storage was much more expensive than it currently is. And so that was one of the major factors, I believe. I wasn't here when the 30-day policy was enacted, but that was typically one of the things that were considered, the amount of data that had to be held, and a lot of those things were held here, whereas now we're utilizing cloud services and other things that make things a lot more effective, efficient, and cheaper.
And then another question. I guess it was last week or the week before, Encina got hacked and caused him a lot of grief. Do we have the ability to store these emails and not worry about people getting at them and figuring out information?
A good question. I can't speak to what happened in Encina. I have been given some information. What I can tell you is that there are sets of guidelines that that NIST, there are several governing agencies that make recommendations with respect to security, cybersecurity, best practices, and posture. And we are always recommended to ensure that we have that minimum baseline requirement of security parameters in check. I can speak to Vallecitos. We have checked all those boxes. I can't speak to others, but yeah, following best practices is all we can do.
Very good, thank you.
I just have one quick question. How does departments communicate one with another? Do you guys use email? Is it instant message? Do you use Teams? How do you guys communicate?
We use email, we use Teams,
Use it all?
Yep,
But
we
you
use
do
it all.
use
You
email
could
between-
phone as well. I mean, it varies.
Gotcha.
I have a question, just from a practical standpoint. You know, in my emails, for example, usually the emails after 30 days, they go into archive and I can't find them readily in the inbox. So with this new modification, the emails will stick around for a little bit longer, for 365 days, so I don't have to
Correct.
go into archive and try to find
Yep,
them?
yep.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
30 to 365.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
I think it's a good thing. Good
Okay.
question. Thank you.
Great. Well, having no more questions being raised, I will entertain a motion to move staff's recommendation to retain emails from 30 days to 365 days.
Move to approve.
Okay?
Second?
Okay, great. Motion by Director Hernandez, seconded by Vice President Pinnock. If there are no further discussion items or discussion around this, please vote. Great, it passes.
Matthias.
Thank you. Thank you, Matthias. Okay, moving to action item 2.2, construction contract award for the update to the restrooms to ensure they are ADA compliant. And I believe we have a presentation for that.
Yes, and while they're getting ready, I'll tee this up for them. Our original bathrooms, which are our public-facing bathrooms outside the boardroom on both sides for the public, when they were built, they met the current ADA standards, but they do not meet the current standards. So one of the projects that we've had on the books for a little while was to update the bathrooms. So this is that project to bring forward. During the construction of the bathrooms, both bathrooms will be down. And we'll be providing through the contractor a portable bathroom outside for the public. And of course, we'll coordinate and let the board know the timing of that when it happens. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Eric Bennett, our Assistant O&M Manager.
Thank you, General Manager, and good evening, Directors. As General Manager mentioned, I'm here to discuss the project for bringing our lobby restrooms into ADA compliance and with current standards. The current customer lobby restrooms, which are located directly behind me, were originally installed with the construction of Building A in 1997. And over time, ADA standards have changed, but our restrooms have not. Because of this, we need to remodel the restrooms and bring them up to current standards. The construction phase work will include widening the distance between the walls, rerouting plumbing, installing ADA compliant stalls, and remodeling the ceilings, partitions, counters, floors, sinks, lighting, and paint. The project was originally approved in fiscal year 2019-2020 budget, but was delayed due to the pandemic and subsequent project prioritizations. The project was picked back up in fiscal year 22-23 with a task order awarded to MBM Group for design, bid, and construction phase services in October 2022. Design was completed in October 2023, with an engineer's estimate of $135,000. The project was publicly advertised in November of 2023, with the bid opening scheduled for mid-January of 2024. On January 12th of this year, staff opened 3 bids from EMH Construction, Camp Constructors, and Crew Builders. Of the 3 bids, EMH was chosen as the lowest and most responsible bidder with a bid of $131,000. Before notifying EMH that they had won the bid, our contract coordinator reviewed their schedule of values and noticed a few errors in the amounts listed, which would have caused the bid to be even lower at $125,000. When notified of the error, EMH said they would honor the lower cost and were willing to move forward with the amount of $125,000. We are now ready to award the construction contract to EMH Construction. We expect construction to take roughly 7 weeks to complete, and during that time, the customer lobby restrooms will be out of service. We will coordinate with customer service during construction to ensure the impact to our customers is minimal. This will be accomplished through signs notifying the customers of the project. Temporary ADA restrooms will be made available for customers, and signs on where to find the temporary facilities, and every measure will be taken to ensure everyone's safety. The budget for this project is $191,000. With design and engineering costs from MBN, construction costs from EMH, staff and overhead, and the mandatory 10% contingency, the cost for this project is estimated to be $198,376, which is $7,376 more than the approved budget. Even though the construction contract came in $10,000 lower than the engineer's estimate, and because of the mandatory contingency of 10% and a higher than expected staff time on the project, it has a deficit now of $7,376. So with this, staff is recommending that the Board of Directors first approve a budget increase of $7,376 to the project, and then second, authorize the General Manager to execute a construction contract with EMH Construction in the amount of $125,000. And with that, I will take any questions you may have.
So are we looking at two actions for this? 2 votes?
It could be done in 1 vote.
Okay. Okay, what questions do my colleagues have? Yes.
What improvements need to be done?
To bring it to ADA compliance?
Yes.
Well, the walls right now, this is going to sound silly, but they're about 1 inch too narrow to comply with ADA.
What, the walls?
Yeah.
What walls?
The dry walls on the inside of each bathroom, they're too narrow to be able to comply with the ADA standards. And so that's kind of the main driver of it. And once we get those widened out, then the new stalls will have the ADA compliant, the width, the wide ones for wheelchair access, and then also they're gonna have, new grab bars for, disabled persons.
Help me to understand, because I'm in the business. You say the walls are too narrow. In which way? From the sinks to the door, or from the wall to the stall?
From the entranceway when you go in,
Yes.
it's too narrow for it to fit in.
Oh, it's not 44 inches?
I don't know the exact amount right now, I just know it's.
You say it's 1 inch too narrow? Okay. The handicap stall, though, is the right size, right?
Currently,
Yes,
as far as I'm aware, yeah.
yeah. So we're spending 125,000 to move a wall 1 inch.
Yeah, and with that, rerouting some plumbing, the sinks are gonna be moved to different walls. The toilet will be mounted on the wall, and then it'll have the new ADA compliant bathroom stall updated and look pretty.
Okay.
I mean, I have the same reaction as you guys know, and I know you guys are saying Penick doesn't like to spend money, I know, but I'm $100,000 per restroom. So my question is, are all the other restrooms in all our facilities up to standard?
So this is the only one that we've taken a look at so far, when this project was originally brought up in 2020, and that's because it's customer facing, and that's where the majority of the impact would be.
Well, I was just wondering if we're doing this one, I mean, it seems like we could get a deal if we looked at all of them, got them all done.
Yeah, I don't.
Same contract.
I don't have the answer to that
Okay,
right now.
okay, that's fine.
I can get that.
No,
for you.
my reaction's the same as his, it's like, $200K to move a wall 1 inch. But, I mean, I know we're trying to, we gotta be ADA compliant, of course, but, appreciate all that you're doing, and I guess we gotta do it. What's our options if we don't do it?
We could be sued.
I mean, are those restrooms, I mean, I know you don't have a clicker going in there. I mean, are they used more than once a day by general public?
That I could not tell you. We'd have to.
Does anybody know?
So they're not widely used, but we do have events when we have, whether it's community events or Water Academy or other events where we bring outside people in, whether it's school tours or anything, those bathrooms are widely used for that. When we have workshops or a board meeting, obviously they're open to the public, and any customer coming in to pay their water bill has access to those restrooms as a public, we being a public facility during working hours, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's kind of like a domino effect. You touch one
Yeah,
thing.
no.
As anybody's done any sort of a home improvement, you touch one thing and there's just this ripple effect that's unintended that you just have to correct along the way. And I think that's what you have. You have a domino effect.
And how is this discovered?
That I'm not sure. This happened in 2020, so.
Yeah, it was before our time, but I think it was just an evaluation, looking at, doing an evaluation of the facilities and recognizing that this was an oversight from the original 97 construction. And there are probably other oversights on the employee side of it, but again, because it's public facing and because of General Manager, what she's saying all the events that we host, it was just felt that it was necessary.
It was actually, and there was one more, there was a, not for our agency, but another agency had potential litigation for ADA compliance, came across, and in the GM meeting, this is a while ago, before 2019, in the GM meetings back then, this came to light, and so all the GMs started looking at their public-facing bathrooms to mitigate the potential for litigation.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit of just a risk assessment, right? And like we do with a lot of things, is it worth the risk? So.
Thank you for finding the error in the original proposal. I want to compliment you for doing that. I have a question about gender-neutral bathrooms. Is that being considered?
Not for this project, no. It's
Okay.
just replacing the men's and the women's on each side.
Okay.
Yeah, that just didn't enter into the discussion at the time, again, originating in, 4 years ago, that topic didn't come up.
So we do know that we were in compliance at one point when it was originally built, but the standards have changed, is that, and we've noticed that now we're out of compliance, and we're taking a calculated risk to modify these restrooms because they are public facing. There may be others that we will need to look into, but for right now, we're tackling these.
Yeah, the good news is on the employee side, there's a lot of different options. So, but yes, you are correct.
Okay, I just wanted to summarize it, yep.
That 44 inches has been around for a long time. I mean, I can't remember when it was less, quite frankly. And so I'm going to support this, but I'm going to definitely measure it and see what the heck's going on. Because, $190,000 for 1 inch, you could change the studs in that one wall and get the inch back, and then you'd be okay. But I will support this, but I will check it.
If you'd like, I could provide part of the design for you if you want to look at it too.
I'm sorry?
I could provide some of the design for you if you would like to look at it.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Okay.
Yeah, for $29,000. Heck, I'd have done that for half.
Do we have any other comments or discussion? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to move staff's recommendation.
I move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I can second.
Okay,
Hesitantly.
Yeah, me too.
that's an expensive inch.
Because I didn't want to take a recess to run out to the car, get my tape and run in there, so.
I'm
we'll-
sure
we'll
there's
do
a
it
tape
after the
measure
fact,
around
but
here.
If
I'm
I
sure
find
there
a
is.
different solution, I will be back to you. All right?
Okay, we have a motion on the floor that has been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Okay, please vote. And the motion carries.
Thank you. Sorry to
Thank you
give
for
you
your
a hard time tonight.
presentation. You had to know that we were going to discuss it in that way, though, if we're talking about this amount of money for an inch.
Of course.
Thank you for your diligence and for, again, finding that error. Okay. We are on action item 2.3, construction contract award for Las Posas waterline replacement project, and we have a presentation.
Yes, while they queue this up also. So we had a water line break in Las Posas many years ago. And our staff went out there during difficult conditions and did a temporary repair. Since that temporary repair was done, it was always intended to come back with a scheduled repair and fix the project. And this project has gone through different iterations because there's a large box culvert underneath, which makes this job very difficult. And depending on the methodology that you move forward with the repair, the project could be upwards of $800,000, $900,000. So staff went through many different iterations over the years, actually delayed the project mainly due to project priorities to come up with the solution that you have here today. With that, I'll hand it over to Senior Engineer Ryan Morgan for the presentation.
All right, thank you, General Manager Gumpel. Good evening, directors. I'm very excited to bring the construction contract award for the Las Posas waterline replacement project before the board tonight. In 2016, a 10-inch diameter water line ruptured in South Las Posas Road between Linda Vista Drive and Stone Drive at the location indicated by the yellow circle in the exhibit. Located in the 855 pressure zone, this water line is an essential asset to water distribution in the local area. The break occurred just feet away from an undercrossing of over 100 feet of an existing triple box culvert or storm drain in Las Posas Road, indicated by the yellow shaded rectangle in the exhibit. Staff responded to the break, which posed significant constructability challenges. Staff successfully installed a repair clamp, as shown on page 24 of the board packet. This repair was only intended to be temporary. To provide a permanent repair, staff originally budgeted for the replacement of the water line in fiscal year 2017 and 18. However, due to other priorities, the project was delayed until the board authorized a design services agreement with NV5 in July of 2021. Due to the proximity of the water line beneath the existing triple box culvert structure, traditional replacement posed significant constructability challenges and became cost prohibitive. Staff researched several trenchless technology solutions to rehabilitate the existing water line and elected to proceed with an innovative lining product consisting of a Kevlar woven pressure rated slip liner within the existing hose pipe called Primus Liner, which satisfies NSF 61 standards for use in potable water systems and has a design life of 50 years. This product has been installed successfully at neighboring agencies, including Valley Center and Rainbow Municipal Water Districts and the City of Carlsbad, although never before at Vallecitos Water District. This product application provides a best fit permanent rehabilitation for the project. Manufacturer certified contractors were solicited to participate in the select bid process, including In-Situ-Form Technologies, Advantage Reline Services, and T.E. Roberts. Staff opened bids on February 21st from 2 contractors listed on page 25 of the board packet, with the low bid being Advantage Reline Services at $288,136. Staff and council reviewed the bids and found no significant irregularities. Advantage Reline Services did not include the signed bid addendum number 1, but referenced their acknowledgement on the first page of the bid. Therefore, the district will waive the immaterial deviation. Staff and council completed the evaluation of qualifications, references, bid forms, and determined Advantage Reline Services was the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. The fiscal impact can be found on page 26 of the board packet, identified in the fiscal year 23-24 budget with an amount of $402,000. The project is funded entirely from water replacement funds. When considering professional services agreements, construction agreement with contingency, staff labor, and overhead, the anticipated total is $481,196, or roughly $80,000 in deficit. A project budget increase is necessary, and funds are available in the water replacement reserve to cover the additional $80,000. This item was presented to the Engineering and Equipment Committee on February 27th. Staff recommends, with support from the committee, to increase the project budget by $80,000 to total $482,000 and authorize the general manager to execute a construction agreement with Advantage Reline Services in the amount of $288,136, subject to the provisions of the contract. And I can take your questions at this time.
Yes.
I just want to add one thing, and it was covered, but I just want to restate it. So the budget for this project was well over $800,000 before staff found an innovative solution. So we are asking for an additional $80,000, but from a staff opinion, the perspective, the board at one point budgeted well over $800,000 for this job, and then when we found another solution, we adjusted that budget down. So even with that budget request, it's still a win.
Okay. And I keep forgetting to ask if there are any public comments on this.
No, there's not.
Okay, thank you. What questions do my colleagues have? I have a question. Is this part of the ductile iron pipe issue? Is this a ductile iron pipe issue that we keep seeing at various places across the district?
That's a good question. It is a ductile iron pipe issue, but I don't think it's in the same category as
Okay.
the ductile iron pipe issue you're talking about.
Okay,
The pipe below the culvert is very historic, and it is ductile iron. It predates the AC, asbestos cement water line that ties into it as it dives down below the culvert. And part of the issue being ductile iron, the corrosion issue, the advanced corrosion issue led to the rupture in 2016. But the pipeline is very, very old, predates the culvert.
That ductile iron piece is way older, or significantly older than the other breaks that we've seen that are mainly caused by human error. And it's actually we've had pretty good useful life out of that piece.
okay. And it sounds like we've been temporarily fixing it and just trying to hang on to the temporary fix for a while. Okay, any questions?
Just a comment, we listened to this at the engineering committee, and it was great, and I made the comment, thank you for thinking under the box, outside the box to save, $400K, and, I appreciate those that worked diligently on this to save money, and that temporary fix was 2016, I understand. That was a pretty good temporary fix, 8 years. So, no,
Yes.
you're thinking outside the box and doing what you're doing, and I know you're using something we haven't used before, right?
Yes, we've used trenchless lining products in the past,
Yeah.
traditionally CIPP, and non-pressure gravity sewers is most common. We have most likely used a pressure liner application at one point in time, but not too common. So this is a newer technology, but it's very innovative, and it has a good track history, not here at the district, because it's kind of a first, but from other neighboring agencies. We did reach out, perform our due diligence, and seek references on how this product has worked out. It really is a best fit solution for this specific problem here.
Right, because you're going, yeah, there's some twists and turns and some ups and downs, and so, no, thank you for what you did and what you've done, and appreciate the presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
And move to approve. As presented.
Great, thank you. I have a motion from Vice President Pinnock and a second from Director Hernandez. If there's no further discussion, then let's vote. And the motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation and for finding creative solutions.
Thank you.
Okay, action item 2.4, San Diego Regional Water Quality Control Board meeting, per diem expense reimbursement approval.
Yes, this item was requested by President Boyd Hodgson to be brought for consideration for the board for the upcoming San Diego Regional Board meeting, or public meeting. The main subject of the meeting is the discussion of the abatement and cleanup and abatement order for Lake San Marcos. With that, President Boyd Hodgson.
Thank you. Yes, so I requested that this be on the agenda because it is not historically a meeting for which we are granted a per diem and travel expenses. But the Regional Water Quality Control Board will be taking up once again, and it seems like they do this about once every year, the issue of the Lake San Marcos cleanup. And that impacts District 5 and District 4, which, two of us are representatives from those districts. And it's a very complicated issue. A lot of the folks that live in Lake San Marcos think that because it is water, that it has to do with Vallecitos. And when the Regional Control Board continues to talk about Vallecitos in the context of the cleanup, it perpetuates that misperception. I know Legal Counsel Gilpin has a few things that you might want to add to this, but my request is that in order to have representation from Vallecitos on that meeting, either virtually or in person, I am requesting that we get a per diem for attending that meeting. And that requires a vote, because it's not something that we typically pay a per diem.
Multiple meetings, throughout the year, what are they?
The Regional Water Control Board meets multiple times throughout the year, but they don't always talk about the Lake San Marcos cleanup, and they are in the one coming up. I believe it's March
13th.
13th.
And I think your request is just to attend the March 13th meeting, not to add this to the list of
Correct.
meetings that
It's
are
a
regularly
one-off
attended.
request.
So
That's
this,
what I was wondering, so it's just a one-off.
It's a one-off.
It's a one-off.
I'm going to attend anyway, but it would be nice to have a per diem for the time spent.
you know, the policy, your policy just requires that it, that attending the meeting serves the benefit of the district. And as President Boyd Hodgson referenced, having a representative at the meeting may serve a purpose of showing visibility, despite, you're going to have legal counsel and the general manager there to raise issues with the tentative draft cleanup order, but showing that presence would satisfy that public benefit from my perspective. But this is a board policy, so. Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think representation's important. And I was just trying to get clarification. What's a one-off?
It's a one-off. Mhm.
Yeah, I can.
And I think if we vote, we can all attend. Director Grosset is not here, and he represents the other half of Lake San Marcos, so I'll mention that to him. But this is an ongoing issue, and it would be nice to hear what the thinking is around, from the Regional Water Quality Control Board. At this point, it seems like they talk about this every year, every 2 years.
Yep.
So,
I don't have a problem. I can move to approve that.
okay, great. I have a motion on the floor. I'll second it. Okay, if there's no further discussion, then let's vote. Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you.
And the motion carries.
Will be represented well.
Okay, good. Hopefully we'll move the ball forward a little bit. It's been a long time in the making. Okay, next item, action item 2.5, Project Next's Cedar Chavez Cleanup Day. And I believe we don't have, do we have a presentation? We don't have a presentation.
No, we don't have a presentation.
Okay.
This is another item that was requested by President Boyd Hodgson for consideration for the board. And I don't know if we have a public speaker on this one. We do have a public speaker on this one.
We do have a public speaker, and I'm going to pull up the flyer on my computer so I can have a look at it and reference it, just to tee it up a little bit. Just give me a moment. So this item was brought to my attention as an opportunity for us to work with other community folks to sponsor a community cleanup event. It is in honor of Cesar Chavez. It is happening at various points of time between, let's see, I think the end point is April the 1st, and any money that we donate, and we can have that discussion about how we can do that, if we can do that, would go directly toward to benefit Project Next. Project Next is the organization in San Marcos High School and Mission Hills High School that we as an organization have been working with to try to recruit young people into the water sector. They specialize in helping folks understand what career opportunities are out there. They help them with interview skills. They even have like a professional wardrobe closet for young people that are going on job interviews. They can have the closet and be appropriately dressed. But Project Next is an organization within San Marcos Unified that we have been working with to try to build a pipeline for the water district. And the ask is that we sponsor, amount to be determined, and we can discuss that, but sponsor this community cleanup. Cleaning up trash directly benefits our waterways because it prevents things from ending up in the ocean, in particular microplastics. So that was my interest in this particular item, and also I'm a believer in Project Next. So that's why I requested to bring it forward.
If I may, President, I think we just want to clarify what our understanding of the request was so that we get it in the box. So as I understand the program, there will be monies paid to students who participate in the cleanup, and the money would be donated and go directly to people who participate in the program. It wouldn't be a payment to Project Next, because making a payment directly to Project Next would create a problem for us in terms of gift of public funds. Yeah, so this would actually be a donation to this event, and the monies, as I understand it, are being paid out directly to the students who participate in it. So,
I believe the money is going to Project Next for their nonprofit. It's not going to the students that my understanding is opposite.
Oh, that sounds like, it sounds like that it sounds like you are not aligned on.
Yeah, no, my understanding was the money would go to Project Next to the nonprofit arm of San Marcos Unified School District for their funding. It wouldn't, in other words, the individual volunteers that go to clean up trash would not receive money for picking up trash. That's my understanding.
Okay.
So, but I could be wrong. It's more of a question than a statement.
Oh, we do have a public speaker that maybe
Can
can answer some questions.
I just want to make sure we clarify this, because our advice, based on the information we were given, was a simple donation to Project Next without any guarantee that it's being paid out to participants would be prohibited under gift of public fund rules. So that's why my understanding.
Okay.
So that's the issue.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I have Jay Petrick of San Marcos, who is a public speaker on this item.
Yes, thank you
Welcome,
very
Jay.
much, Board. Thank you for your opportunity to speak. My name is Jay Petrick, and I've been coordinating the self-guided community cleanup now for 3 years, and it provides students with an opportunity for a couple of hours of community service. It also helps our open space and waterways become a little bit cleaner, and then also serves Project Next. And that, as our director said, was, or is, a program at the high school. It's kind of, I look at it like a career center on steroids. It's basically got a huge outlay of resources available to students to guide them in their next steps after high school. So there's a copy of the flyer in your packet. It's a document that's printed in English and Spanish. It's downloaded to the high school websites. Students print the flyer out. They have a several-week period to go out and do their 2 hours of community service. And once they do that, they post their efforts on social media. They have an adult sign off that they've done the 2 hours of community service. They take that voucher, they submit, they go into Project Next future centers, which are located at each of the high schools, and they're entered into a opportunity drawing where they are, provided various gifts, either a laptop or swag about Project Next. Anyway, that's part of the incentive for students to participate. 100% of all the monies raised in this event are through sponsorships, and it all goes to the Project Next resources. So none of it goes to pay students. I've been working with EDCO for the past 3 years. They've donated $1,000 to this event as part of a sponsor. That full $1,000 contribution goes to Project Next. So I don't get any of it. The students don't get any of it. It goes directly to Project Next, which is supported by sponsorships and other donations. It's their nonprofit entity of the school district that runs their career centers. So that, in a nutshell, explains it all. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. So it sounds to me like this, as has been described, we are not able to donate directly to Project Next.
You can donate directly to Project Next, provided it's going to benefit to these individuals who are participating. So it's not a direct payment to, quote, Project Next.
Okay.
So I think this would qualify if you, the board, decide that there's a nexus between your mission and what this is doing.
Okay.
So just for clarification, if the board moves forward with a recommendation, just picking a number, whatever number that is, and that donation goes to Project Next. Project Next is basically could use those funds for anything with it. This is more of a question that I have. Anything within its programs, it could use it for to do more interview workshops. It could do it to do tours. It could do it to provide more wardrobe for people for interviews. So it basically goes into Project Next. Project Next's nonprofit coffers, so to speak.
That's correct.
Used to benefit back to the students.
That's correct.
Which is its mission. But my understanding from the emails, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, is if there's a cash donation where Vallecitos gets in trouble with gift of public funds, it has to be, we have to have strings attached to that money that it's used for both water and wastewater. There has to be a connection, a nexus for that. And that's my understanding from the emails that I've read. Sorry.
Well, you, the board, need to find that there's a nexus between what your mission is and what Project Next is doing. I understood this was part of a cleanup program, which might provide the nexus to your cleanup of your watershed, et cetera. I don't know about the expanded issues that have just been discussed of what Project Next broader missions are. So I can't speak to that. You all can make that determination as to whether there is the nexus to your Vallecitos' interests in serving, your ratepayers, et cetera.
Okay.
For water and wastewater.
Okay, Director Hernandez.
Yeah, I think there is a nexus. If they're cleaning up the streets and the areas, that's trash that's, as you said, not going into our sewers, not going into the ocean. So I think there is a nexus. And, I don't personally think it's out of line to offer $1,000 to the organization because that's what they're doing. With that, I would move to approve and to offer a $1,000 donation for this event.
Okay. I will second.
Very good.
Any other?
So it's not a day, it's not a Caesar Chavez Day, you give them,
We send, yes, so in the past, we've centered it around a public figure that has impacted society. It's been patterned, it was a Martin Luther King cleanup day for 2 years. We decided to run it after Cesar Chavez because of the efforts being done at Cal State San Marcos, who are also doing a number of events centered around Cesar Chavez. And just a correction on the time frame, the program will start running on Monday of this month, or next Monday, I should say, and it'll run until April 5th, which gives students about a full month to participate in the cleanup effort. And so you may see students on different days going around, and this is advertised through their ASB program. It's advertised through the career centers, the future centers at the high school, so word gets out. And the students are seeking opportunities for community service hours, so this is something that they look forward to every year, and we've had some good participation in past years.
Good.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other comments or questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Then let's vote. Oh, sorry. Great, okay, thank you. Thank you for pulling this together and for the service to the community, and thank you for your votes. Okay, moving on to, I believe we are up to reports. General Manager report.
Yeah, just brief ones tonight. So 2 main reports, and they're mainly good news, is our finance team was able to get another round of arrearages payments for past due or unpaid bills, of around $76,000. Is that correct, Wes? But I asked Wes what the total we've received since the arrearages program has been in existence, and it's just a bit over $549,000. So that's basically bad debt that the district did not have to keep on its books, that also relieved our customers who either wasn't or could not pay their bills. So it's been a win-win with that. I believe the arrearages program now is probably put to an end, so we won't be seeing any more, but if there are, we'll definitely keep an eye out.
And I'm sorry, where does that money come from again?
It comes from the state, is that correct?
They're actually both. So just for clarification, $195,000 of that was the Cal OES FEMA grant funding. So it's federal funding that's funneled through the state and given to us.
Okay.
That money was for COVID expenses, for things like the janitorial cleanup and things like that we had to do here as a result of COVID. So we were reimbursed for certain expenses. We had to submit several projects for that. That was $195,000. So that didn't go directly to the customers, but indirectly it does because it affects their rates. The arrearages program, we've applied 3 times for that. That's also federal funding that's done through the state, similar thing. And they had, I think it was $800 million in total, and they only gave out about $300 million through the first round. So they had $600 million left over, and they extended it for us to apply again. So depending on what happens this time, I don't know, they may come back and say, we have $300 million left, we're extending it again. So we'll see, what happens. If they do, we'll apply again. So we've gotten
Great.
3 rounds of it.
Thank you. Thank you for staying on top of that.
Second item is also has to do with Wes. Our GPA, which is our new financial advisors that the board took action on several months ago. We're going to do an introduction with them, and they'll be probably virtually here at the next board meeting. One of the things, besides an introduction, that they're going to be working on is looking at our investment strategies, both for our funds that we control internally and the funds that they are controlling through the contract that we gave them, and seeing how that portfolio will look like. So this first meeting will be more of an introduction, but with the intent of kind of outlining what steps are going to move forward for the district investments. With that, that concludes my report.
Great. Thank you. District Legal Counsel, Counselor Gilpin.
Thank you. I had 2 items that I was just going to mention. The regional board meeting on March 13th, which we discussed earlier, but the purpose of that meeting is for the board to consider the adoption of a tentative cleanup and abatement order, not just related to Lake San Marcos, but also related to the San Marcos Creek upper watershed. And you may recall last fall they issued a proposed tentative order, And so over the course of the last 4 months, parties have been submitting comments to them. We, legal counsel and GM, had a call with regional board staff. One of our concerns was that Vallecitos had been lumped in to the stormwater issues, which we don't have any impact on. And so yesterday, they issued a modified tentative order, which has addressed at least part of our concern relative to the stormwater issue. They've taken us out as MP3s, 6s. And, but we still have some concerns, and so we'll be appearing at the regional board to comment further on this tentative order that's been issued. One of the big concerns is they're kind of going to accelerate some more studies, which could impact will impact the monies in the trust fund. So monies are, if this were adopted, monies are going to go to more studies versus spending money to cure the problem.
And that's been the issue
That's been
for
the
some
issue
time.
for some time. I can say from our conversation with the staff at the regional board, they've expressed, rightfully so, concern over the kind of lack of progress by the trust in terms of implementing. We're not the trust. We paid into it, obviously, and as part of a settlement of that lawsuit. But we expressed, look, this has been under a cloud of litigation, only recently had been settled, freeing up some of these consultants. And really, from our perspective, the last thing you want to do is put some more food in the consultant trough for them to study stuff instead of fixing the problems. So we'll see what they do with respect to that. It does look like we're successful in getting us extracted from the stormwater issues. So again, that's happening on the 13th.
I have a question about that. As stakeholders in the trust, and as people who, in good faith, pay into that trust, is there legal recourse for us and perhaps some of the other stakeholders that are paying into that trust when the trust isn't being spent to solve the problem? Is there any kind of legal recourse? Or do we just watch the money fund go down and down and down and the problem not getting fixed?
Yeah, it's complicated because it was a settlement paid into the trust that's controlled by, quote unquote, the plaintiff, which is the CDC. I think one thing after the call with the regional board is we're committed to going back to the trust and the consultants. Vallecitos had a consultant involved, and Glenn had been attending the meetings with the consultant, et cetera. But to bring some pressure to the consultants that, they're just ticking the clock, and of course you put 6 consultants in a room and you're going to get 7 opinions on what the solution should be, and then they debate that. But I think there could be some more efficiencies and effectiveness to them doing that, and hopefully it's not directed at drafting new studies as opposed, they implemented the lake aeration last year, and bringing some stuff to bear. The other issue we may have to look at is this kind of bifurcation between stormwater issues and the lake, because the trust was set up to deal with cleanup of the lake, and we don't want those trust funds to be used relative to dealing with quote unquote stormwater issues that are sort of outside the purvey. But we'll see what happens on the 13th. We plan to come back in closed session at the next meeting, I think, to report on kind of the hearing and what we're hearing and what our recommendations would be to the board.
We don't have to pay additional, right?
Well, no, the settlement only deals with civil liability. So the costs that they're currently projecting are covered as long as there's trust funds to cover it. And because this is a regional board action, we have regulatory exposure for cleanup. All the regulatory liability under the regional board is joint and several. So we do have exposure relative to that, which is really why we're trying to push the line on, what's in our box and what's not.
And directors, we'll have to come back to you in closed session to go over, we could go over the history, We go over how the settlement and the previous action and the current action, once we'll find out on the 13th, affects that, and give the entire board kind of an update.
But it sounds like it's a settlement with a comma, not a settlement with a period. Meaning,
It's a settlement with an asterisk or a comma, yeah, either
Meaning
one,
it can
yeah,
go on.
meaning, yes.
and can I quote you something about food for the consultant's trough?
Is-
I'll be in trouble if any of them are watching this, but I mean, you get in those meetings sometimes and you just, yeah, and
There's nothing being done.
our consultant was frustrated for a number of years that, so,
Yeah, we've been talking about this since I first got on the board 12 years ago.
right.
Is it possible and is it appropriate to have, because this March 13th meeting is going to be a really important meeting. So I wonder, is it appropriate and possible to have, even if it's just like a briefing memo sent to those of us that want to attend this meeting on the 13th from your office, so that we can know a little bit of history, a little bit of background? I know that you've provided that to me before, but in the context of this particular meeting, so that we can understand some potential talking points and we can make sure that we are all on the same page.
Yeah, we don't have an agendized action. I can provide background and stuff.
There's
President
public
Boyd
comment though,
Hodgson-
right? There's got to be public comment.
My concern is that we want to have directed strategic comments that if they're made, they are official statements by the district, which we have not, quote unquote, formulated at this point.
Okay.
Certainly, you can appear as a member of the public and make comments relative to your observations, blah, 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 but we the board, or you, the board, have not, created official statements to be made at this hearing other than directing legal counsel.
Is there time to do that?
Not between today and the 13th, because
Have
that'd
we-
be a closed session item to discuss that strategy and move forward with it, so.
Okay.
So again, we're gonna bring this agendized item so we can have further discussion. It's not agendized today, so we can't really get into the details of it, but we are
Well,
gonna bring it back.
I'll disagree with James. I'm just trying to answer questions here, so we're not taking any action or direction. So this is my
Okay.
comments to you. That's why I say we haven't taken any action or you haven't officially as a board, and we can't tonight. So,
Are we missing an opportunity?
no, because we on your behalf submitted a letter to the regional board raising all of these issues.
Thank you. Great.
Which in part resulted in some of the changes here, and we hope
Okay.
there will be additional changes. And I would comment that historically, the trusts and some of those other members submitted statements, and we said, we're submitting our own. You may remember we took that action last year, so that's all been done. The other item, I just briefly, this gift of public funds issue, I apologize for the confusion relative to this, but if you have questions about that kind of thing, just slap them in writing and get them to me. There won't be loss in telephone or translation, and we can address the specific issue. Ultimately, it ends up being a policy decision for you all, whether, as I said, you see a nexus between the donation and your business. And, it came up some time ago with the Boys and Girls Club. It occasionally comes up on other things, so that's just, it's a policy decision for you within that box, so
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that report. Do we have anyone to give the San Diego County Water Authority report?
No, but I did attend the managers meeting, and it's the main news, and I kind of put it in my brief email to the directors today, is they're putting together the draft budgets. The Metropolitan Water District's budget shows almost a 14% increase in their baseline costs. The Water Authority is now looking at that and adding their increase on top. So as member agencies, we don't know what those numbers look like, but there's different strategies, different out-of-the-box solutions, questions that all the member agency representation have been working with the Water Authority. Besides that, the Water Authority management team is more open to discussion than in the past. So we're hopeful, but there's only so much that they can control.
Okay, thank you. Encino Wastewater Authority, Dr. Hernandez.
I was not there, I was in Washington.
Oh, that's right. Oh, Director Pinnock.
I was there.
Okay.
And were you
I'm trying to
awake?
just- I was awake. You were there. What did we do?
No, I wasn't there.
You want to remind me? I mean, I'm trying to think if we made any headway or if we made any decisions on, boy, I didn't write that, because I wasn't expecting to give a report. Apologize.
You want me to come back to you? I can do standing committees quickly if you want to think
Well,
about it.
I wouldn't even know
Okay.
where to go to, I mean, I don't have any information. I'm trying to think, was there anything?
Well, it's the
budget.
CVC project and mainly the first budget discussions was primary topic. It was a fairly light agenda.
Yeah,
Okay.
no reportable action.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Oh, did they pass the monies for the electric vehicle infrastructure?
Well, Jim, you and I are the only ones that said no to those. It passed with a 9-1 vote, and I was the one. Sorry.
Okay, fine.
But it was 9-1.
Yeah, well,
Or you weren't there, so it must have been.
no, Franklin didn't vote no for it. He
No,
said
he
he was
didn't, actually, he didn't.
Oh, okay, fine.
That's the reportable action.
Okay, thank you. All right, standing committees. You mentioned engineering committee met, did you?
We mainly just discussed what we talked tonight about, that, under the culvert, yeah.
Okay. The P3 committee also met earlier in the week, and we discussed trying to, we have a lot of balls up in the air regarding internships and collaborations with community partners, so trying to put some parameters around there and trying to expand what we're able to do, trying to make sure that we're building relationships internally to have folks understand what the options are, what the possibilities are, and how any relationships going forward can be mutually beneficial, which I agree with. I think that's going to be a great move forward and a great motivator for us to continue these community partnerships. And we also talked about the seed library. We're going to have an event once we figure out when the seed library is going to be installed, and that'll be a great community service as well. We talked about a couple of other things, but I don't have the agenda right in front of me. Am I missing anything?
No, those are some of the main topics. yes.
Okay, okay. Any others?
The
Oh.
climate action progress report, just starting to populate that report.
Yep, that's right. Thank you. Correct. So we are making progress on the climate action report. It is an inventory that is being done right now, sort of looking at all the ways that we have been for years reducing our greenhouse gas emissions and our carbon footprint. It is now being put into a document, which I'm really happy to see, and we'll continue building on it and figuring out the best ways to communicate the messages and the best ways to lay out the pages so that it's a quick hit and a quick read for those that want just the bullets, and a more intensive read for those that are really wanting to get into the weeds of it.
I apologize, one last thing I just came to mind. We also did discuss meetings and conferences as brought up by Director Pennock.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And so at this time, there is not a recommendation to limit the number of conferences that folks can attend. We did have a lengthy discussion about the reporting out mechanism. I personally am in favor of a more structured reporting out, but for a variety of reasons, either because it will elongate the meetings or because of sort of inconsistency in the report out, I think we decided that we would not require some kind of written report, but we will encourage folks to follow, specific sort of a verbal template when we're reporting out to try to help. I know it'll be helpful for me guiding what is good for the public to hear about, what is good for the other directors to hear about, and when it comes to conferences and seminars a little bit later, I do plan on submitting a written report for the Climate Action Leadership Institute that I went to, because there's so much that I would just like to tell you all about. But as of now, no template for a written report, but suggestions for how to report out in the meeting that can help guide us and organize our thoughts so that we can prepare a little bit better and communicate.
Great.
Thank you for those prompts. I appreciate that. Those were the two most important items, and I missed them. So thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Any other standing committees? Okay. Directors' reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended.
Well, I'll let let you handle CASA, because we're both there. And,
Okay, great.
and I'll tell you about Aqua. Takeaway is everybody's looking at PFAS and microplastics. 200 to 300 wastewater treatment facilities will be surveyed for PFAS using a couple of methods, 1623 and 1621. They are going to measure biosolids, landfill, and leachable soils. Biosolids risk assessment on family farms, and the thing that struck me is they're talking about 7 parts per trillion. 1 part per trillion is the diameter of a human hair. The distance between that person and the moon is 1 part per trillion. So 7 strands of hair between here and the moon is what they're trying to figure out. They're looking at soil, they're looking at biosolids, they're looking at water, they're looking at leachables, water surfaces. So
Who's they?
EPA. EPA. I guess I got nothing else to do. And then, so that's what they talked about. The Associated Chief of the Forest Service regarding the health of the forest was talked about. There was, the big deal was there's a marked difference between private forests and national forests. There's not enough resources to do the underground defoliation, if you will, of the federal forest, whereas for the private forest, there you can shoot an arrow through. It's like the old days with forest. There's trees and then there's ground. National forest, there's trees and then there's undergrowth, and that's what's causing these big fires. They're up against resources availability and environmental activists not allowing them to do the deforestation of underground. So that's a big deal. Our friends at Best Best and Krieger spoke about work that they're trying to do to remove water facilities and wastewater facilities from liability regarding PFAS and microplastics. Then we heard from Representative Ken Calvert and Representative Jim Costa. Both are very pro with water. We'll do whatever we would ask for regarding with the WIFIA revolving fund. They're for it. And they're all very positive on water, wastewater, reclaimed water, and standing ready to help us in any way. We just need to ask. But there was no check signed. So we'll see where that goes. That was the Aqua conference.
Okay, thank you. So I was also in Washington, D.C. for the first part of last week at the California Association of Sanitation Agencies conference, and also some discussion around PFAS. What was terrific about this conference is that it was, part conference where you go and you sit and listen to lectures, but the second part of the day was actually going to the Hill and advocating on behalf of the California Association of Sanitation Agencies, meeting with congressional staff, and advocating in particular for a couple of pieces of legislation that I will share with you. Now, so we were able to meet with staffers from Mark Desaulnier's office, Eric Swalwell's office, Jared Huffman's office, and John Garamendi's office. And they were very attentive. They had clearly formed relationships with some of the CASA advocacy group, and it was very heartening to see them welcome us in and listen to the things we have to say. So there were a couple of pieces of legislation that we were speaking about. The first one was H.R. 2964, Senate Bill 1350, which is called the WIPES Act, W-I-P-P-E-S Act. It is a common sense proposal to add labeling on single-use flushable wipes that say do not flush, because they're not actually flushable. And as we know, because we operate a wastewater treatment facility, they can really wreak havoc with wastewater treatment infrastructure. So Legislation is being proposed. It is bipartisan in nature, and it looks like it will go forward, and there will be labeling that says "do not flush" on these wipes that historically have been flushed for a long time and are creating havoc with wastewater treatment plants and public health. Secondly, the second piece of legislation, it's actually not a piece of legislation, it's an approach to legislation that focuses on a polluter pays principle with regard to PFAS. And what some examples of what that would look like, and apparently this does enjoy some support locally within our congressional district, that the ask is that the advocators are asking that Congress consider various approaches to address PFAS, such as passing legislation that statutorily exempt clean water agencies from CERCLA liability as the EPA finalizes its rulemaking designating PFAS and PFOA as hazardous substances. So what that means is wastewater agencies are trying to clean up PFAS. They are trying to clean up PFAS and PFOA. However, it is unfair for wastewater and water agencies to be on the hook for the full balance of that cost of cleanup, because wastewater and water agencies neither manufactured nor perpetuated PFAS and PFOA. We know where it came from, and we were just the last people that touched the water with it in it. So there is a concern about that and an emphasis on the polluters actually paying for this cleanup rather than local water agencies. And we obviously don't have the money to embark on large-scale PFAS and PFOA cleanups. So those are a couple of things that we did. It was terrific being able to go and advocate for these things. I learned a lot just about the way Washington works. What a town. What a town. So the second part of the week, I was in Miami at the U.S. Water Alliance One Water Climate Action Leadership Institute, which was also very interesting, and it took place in Miami. And the hosts of the meeting were Miami-Dade Sewer, and we got to hear a lot about what Miami-Dade County Sewer is really doing as they face, they are on some of the front lines of climate change here in the United States. They have seen a 10-inch sea level rise over the last 100 years. They're expecting another 10 to 17 inches by 2040. And if you've ever been to Miami, you see all these beautiful condominiums and hotels and homes right on the water. They go right up to the water, right up to the canals, right up to the ocean. And they're going to be having a lot of long-term ramifications, not just about the weather and about the climate and the marine life, but a lot of real estate issues as well, and economic issues. So I'm going to be putting out some kind of written report to share all of these things with you, but it was a tremendous opportunity to come together with people all over the United States, hear about some of the challenges in Miami, as far north as Buffalo, several folks from California, and really just hear about how different agencies and organizations and even some corporations that work in water are helping to address climate change and mitigate climate change. So that's all I will report about on that, but I found it tremendously beneficial, and I look forward to collaborating more with the U.S. Water Alliance. I think it was a good choice for us to join that organization. All right, anything else on those? Any other conferences? All right. Any other business? Okay, seeing none. Future comments or future agenda items. And, I'm thinking back about the bathrooms that we talked about tonight. You saw all of us hesitantly approve, $190,000 for new bathrooms. And I know that we approved that. We approved that expenditure. But I wonder what it would look like if instead of moving a wall and redoing the entire inside of the bathroom again in its current state, if instead we had two bathrooms that were family bathrooms that could be accessible, widen the door, it's all one stall, we have all kinds of facilities available in there. If we just had those two bathrooms, given the amount that they're actually used, I wonder if that would cost less. I'm trying to think outside of the box here, because that was a lot of money that we approved. The bathrooms, from what I can understand, aren't used very often. I'm just throwing it out there. if we,
Should just change the name to unisex and have anybody, either anybody use them as want to?
well, if that's not, or family bathrooms. My point is, it's a room
Yeah.
that's wheelchair, that's ADA compliant because it's an open room.
So
And
do
we
you
have
want-
2 of them.
Just point of order, this is for director comments, we should not deliberate relative to this. I guess we can put it on future discussion, but
Well,
we're
let-
headed
let
down the
me check.
deliberation path. Yeah.
Okay, I'll second that. So we've got a motion and a second to, all
Put
right.
it on a future agenda?
Yeah.
Oh.
And
Just
I'll
trying to-
look- I'll do my due diligence before I leave, because I want to find out, again, that's a lot of money just for 1 inch of wall.
Okay, we'll put it
So
on another
I'm gonna
agenda.
look at that real hard.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll revisit that item. Thank you for your patience and grace, and sometimes we don't think about issues until we're right in the middle of it, so thank you. All right, so we'll see that on an upcoming agenda. Maybe we can have a discussion about that. Okay. Any other comments?
No? So just for clarification, this is just to talk about the functionality of the bathroom, whether it's men's, women's, or family, or some other words.
No, I want to know if it's less expensive to consider redoing the bathrooms in a different way. It sounds like we are, from my understanding, it sounds like we are moving a wall and redoing the entire bathroom in a similar way that it was. And my ask is, why don't we have 2 bathrooms that are family bathrooms? Anybody can use them. They're ADA compliant because it's a big room. Is that cheaper? That's my question.
Well, we can discuss that at the next
Yeah.
board meeting.
But you'd still have to make them ADA compliant, so the
Yeah,
scope is not
exactly.
much changed. But yeah, we
Right.
could definitely discuss it. So, and we can walk through the bathrooms after the meeting also.
Yeah, I'd like to see them. Yeah.
And you're going to send that PDF to me? Perfect. All right, great. I'll take a look at that.
You got your tape measure?
I got one of my.
Okay, I think I'm getting the look from our attorney that we should adjourn because we're talking about this, right? Okay.
Only 2 of you can walk through the bathroom though.
Okay. What if only 2 of us walk to one and one of them walks to the other? Okay.
All right,
Great, we are adjourned. Thank you.